Not yet. It's starting now.
I'm waiting. Yep. Good morning. This is one of the interpreters. I'm going to give the instructions in Spanish first for how to access interpretation, and then English. Bienvenidos sean todos y muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Antes de empezar la reunión, explicaremos las funciones necesarias para acceder a la interpretación simultánea al español. Si están utilizando su computadora portátil o de escritorio, favor de localizar el icono con figura de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla cuando aparezca, en un minuto, y luego pulsen Interpretación de lenguaje, Language Interpretation, y seleccionen el idioma español. Si están conectándose desde su teléfono, iPad o dispositivo similar, busquen el menú con los 3 puntitos en la esquina superior del lado derecho de su pantalla y pulsen Interpretación de lenguaje, Language Interpretation, y luego Español. Esto permite que escuchen la traducción al español con 80% de volumen, y el audio en inglés escuchará al fondo con un 20% de volumen. Tienen la opción de apagar el audio en inglés pulsando Mute Original Audio, ubicado en el mismo menú donde eligieron el idioma español. Gracias. Espérense tantito. And for those of you who are on the meeting and speak English, please also, if you are on your desktop or laptop computer, when the icon for interpretation appears at the bottom of your screen, select that and then select English or Spanish. If you're using a phone or iPad or other similar device, you're going to look for the 3 dots at the top right of your screen. Click that, and it will also open, look for interpretation, and then choose English. If we are to hear the whole session today, you need to choose either English or Spanish. And thank you very much. Eso concluye las instrucciones en español y inglés, y entonces ahora se van a activar los canales.
Thank you, Vicky.
You're welcome. Waiting for the channel to activate.
Madam Chair, whenever you're ready.
Well, thank you so very much. Good morning y buenos días. I would like to call the January 26, 2023 APCD hearing board meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll and swear in the witnesses?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Before I call the roll, I would like to note that all members are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be taken by roll call vote. In addition, I would like to note for the record that we do have quorum for today's meeting. Member Gonzalez.
Present.
Member Powers.
Here.
Member Spencer.
Present.
Vice Chair Schlick.
Present.
Chair Rodriguez.
Present.
Thank you. I would ask that the following individuals please identify themselves for the record. Hearing Board Counsel.
Emily Helms, Senior Deputy County Counsel, Counsel for the Hearing Board.
Thank you. Air Pollution Control District staff.
William Jacks, Chief of Compliance for the district.
Mary Mahoney, Civil Actions Investigator for the district.
Scott Nestor, Civil Actions Investigator for the district.
Julie Byford, Civil Actions Investigator for the district.
And Vera Tiagi, Counsel for the district.
Thank you. I will now swear in those that wish to provide testimony on any item on today's agenda. This includes petitioners, respondents, and APCD staff. Please turn your video on at this time and raise your right hand for the swearing in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter before this hearing board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Before we proceed our administrative items, Madam Clerk, have we received any requests from members of the public that wish to address the board today on non-agenda public communications?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. We have received no requests from members of the public to address the board. Sorry, we haven't received no requests from members of the public to address the board under non-agenda public communication. However, if there are any members of the public on the teleconference line wishing to address the board under non-agenda public communication, please raise your hand now by pressing *9 or using the raise hand feature on Zoom. Seeing no hands raised, there are no members of the public wishing to provide non-agenda public comment this morning.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, I just wanted to indicate that we're going to be following the administrative items as they appear on the agenda. We can definitely proceed, with item number B, which is the selection of chairperson and vice chairperson, for calendar year 2023. Well, for 2023. So before we actually get started, certainly this is not something that we do, on a regular basis. And we're going to be certainly reviewing, the rules on the 16th of February. But the selection of chairperson and vice chairperson for 2023 is something that is expected. With that in mind, I actually have to say, though, that we're going to take the nominations for chairperson first and the nominations for vice chairperson next. So that way, we're clear, on our motion and our vote, okay? So let's start definitely, with the chairperson. The activities, if you indulge me, I know that I have been the chairperson, for, some time, and particularly during the transition based on AB 432. Certainly, it has been my absolute pleasure, that working as your chairperson. And I engage and I definitely love it. This is not, as I've always said, this is my passion. With that in mind, certainly I would like, to submit my name again for consideration for chairperson for 2023. Are there any other members, that would like to nominate members of the board or self-nominate, for chairperson? Madam Clerk, I'm having problems with Zoom, so I do not know if I'm actually hearing anybody yet.
Madam Chair, it does not look like anyone has provided an additional nomination as of yet.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask.
I would like to nominate Chair Rodriguez to continue as chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slick. Anybody else who would like, to either self-nominate or nominate another individual from the board to serve, as the chairperson for 2023? Okay, so we actually have a motion. And then, do we get a second?
Second.
So, Madam Chair, we actually have a motion and a second, for chairperson for 2023. Could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Member Gonzalez.
Aye.
Member Powers.
Aye.
Member Spencer.
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick.
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez.
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes with all members present voting aye. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so very much. And thank you, the board members. I actually have to say that I cannot wait to see you in person. But you are a fantastic board, really fantastic board. So let's actually move now, to, the nominations for vice chair. For 2023. I would like to nominate, Vice Chair Schlick. For vice chair, for 2023. Are there any other members of the board that would like to self-nominate or nominate another member as vice chair for 2023.
I would second Member Schlick's nomination.
Thank you, Bill. I mean, one last call. Do we
And
get another
I would
nomination?
love to inquire if Member Spencer would be interested in taking a turn as vice chair. I feel like you have a lot to offer the board, and I'd be happy to, to not necessarily like just hold on to this just because I was nominated vice chair last year and nominated again this year. I was thinking of you as another option.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Vice Chair Schlick. I am honored, but I think you're doing a terrific job, and I think I would jump on board with Chair Rodriguez and Member Powers to nominate you for another term, and maybe for another year, and maybe I would consider it further on down the line.
I feel very honored. Thank you, everyone.
No, I mean, thank you. So we actually have a motion and we have a second. I mean, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Member Gonzalez,
Aye.
Member Powers,
Aye.
Member Spencer,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick,
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez.
Absolutely, aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes with all members present voting aye. Congratulations, Vice Chair Schlick.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of work. I mean, particularly on those rules. I mean, coming upwards, and I know that this is the team to make it happen well. So, with that, let's actually move on to item C in our agenda, which is the approval of statement of proceedings or minutes for January 12, 2023. Have the members of the board reviewed, the statement of proceedings, and are there any comments?
Yes, I did review the minutes. I did not see any corrections. I'd be curious if the district also reviewed and if they had any corrections. There's always the very detailed numbers and everything of the variance and the permits, but otherwise I didn't see any problems.
No, I mean, thank you very much. Any other comments from the members of the board? Thanks. Well, with that, I mean, I believe, Mr. Nestor is going to keep us honest on this one. So, I mean, so Scott, I mean, could you please, let us know, how it is now that we need to revise, these orders. And thank you, by the way.
Absolutely. The devil is in the details, I'll tell you, on these things. So we want to suggest a few edits to the draft board order for the variance for Palomar Airport landfill. And that would be on page 2 of the draft, starting on page 2 of the draft board order, or on page 17 of today's agenda packet. In the first paragraph that starts with the board thereby granted, the first change that we would like to suggest is in the first sentence. We suggest replacing the words "as it relates to" with the word "and permit." And this is because permit condition number 7 is one that petitioner was seeking relief from, and it's not related to section 59D3. So if that is changed there, it will make condition number 7 standalone and be part of the variance.
No, perfect.
Okay. So the next 2 requests are for weekly monitoring, which was specified in the motion. Thank you very much. And which was a new condition for the regular variance. So in item 2 in the list below the paragraph that we were just on, the one that says petitioner shall perform daily surface monitoring. What we would suggest is after petitioner shall perform, insert the words weekly surface emissions monitoring, comma, and. So that's that one. And the next one is similar in number 3 of that list. After petitioner shall perform, add the words weekly leak monitoring, comma, and.
Good catch.
Okay. So moving on to number 4 in that list, 4C, C is in cat of that list, change A, B, and C to items 1, 2, and 3. So it's referring to numbers 1, 2, and 3 up above. And the last one I've got is in 4D at the very top there. This is just for clarification. Remove repair format as indicated in the emergency variance petition number 4528 and including, and just replace it with the word and, because I think this was sort of a typo glitch. And that's all that I had.
No, definitely. Thank you so very much, Scott. I mean, as Vice Chair Schlick, indicated, I mean, the devil is in the details. I mean, and this is what we actually do, that review and revision, I mean, as needed, that definitely does not deviate from what was discussed, I mean, during the meeting, so yeah, I mean, definitely, I mean, that is certainly on point, so any comments from the members of the board?
Yeah, I believe all those kind of updates and clarifications still don't change the substance of, and so those are totally acceptable corrections. So
yep. And they were discussed also during the board meeting. I mean, that's so yeah, definitely. I mean, it was your motion, I mean, by Chair Schlick, I mean, and those were definitely included. And also thank you. I mean, with the revisions indicated by the APCD, I mean, that to the statement of proceedings, do I get a motion, I mean, to approve the statement of proceedings, for the last meeting?
I'll move to approve.
I mean, so do I get a second?
Second.
So the motion is, I mean, that again, that we're going to be approving, with the revisions, already indicated, I mean, the statement of proceedings for last meeting. So with that, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Member Gonzalez?
Aye.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Spencer?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez?
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes as amended with all members present voting aye.
Well, perfect. I mean, thank you so very much. Let's move then, to petition, item number D, as in David, in our agenda, which is, I mean, the progress update for petition 4521, City of San Diego, Point Loma wastewater treatment plan. So before we begin, I mean, this petition, Madam Clerk, have we received any requests from the members of the public that wish to address the board today on public communication?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. We have received no requests from members of the public to address the board under petition 4521. However, if there are any members of the public on the teleconference line wishing to address the board under petition 4521, please raise your hand now by pressing *9 or use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Madam Chair, seeing no hands raised, there are no members of the public wishing to provide public comment on petition 4521.
Thank you so very much, Madam Clerk. As customary, the board will take the presentation from the APCD staff. Then it will be followed by petitioner presentation from representatives from petition 4521, City of San Diego, Point Loma wastewater treatment plan. And then any members of the public, that have changed their minds or would like to address, I mean, their hearing board at the end of the presentation. I mean, that's so. Ms. Byford, would I believe, that you're ready from APCD to provide the presentation?
We do not have a presentation today, but our new friend Dan Cotter from the city is here today representing Point Loma Wastewater Treatment Plant and can provide the update on all the work that they've been doing. And then we can provide comment after if that's okay.
That will be fine. I mean, that Mr. Carter, I personally have a vested interest, in saying what the progress has been. So please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dale Carter. I am the wastewater chief plant operator for the city of San Diego. I'll give a general overall view of the events current to date. And I do have a slideshow that I can present to the board. Hey, thank you.
Okay, here goes back to Zoom. I mean, since I believe, is this slideshow on the packet? Maybe it's me, no, that I'm actually going, is this a new slideshow? I mean, that Mr. Carter?
It is.
Has never been presented? Well, if that's
I think it's in the agenda packet though, because I have it in my agenda packet.
Yeah, I have it in mine as well.
Yeah, it's been posted.
Okay, I cannot, for the life of me. Again, as I indicated, I'm having a little issue with computer. No, I mean that part, but definitely, I mean, if it's been posted, Mr. Carter, please go ahead.
Do I share my screen at this time or?
The Madam Clerk, will share the screen for you. So you can definitely indicate, I mean, when you need to move, the slides, okay?
Okay, thank you. Are the slides up? This is a very overall view of the events occurring to date at the Point Loma Wastewater Treatment Plant and the completion of the APCD Stipulated Abatement Order 4521. I'm pleased to present this PowerPoint slide of the events. Next slide, please. APCD notice of violations were given to San Diego between May and August of 2021. They identified 58 gas leaks across 6 operating digesters. On 6 operating digesters, there are 12 pressure relief valves, 11 of which was indicated of gas emissions or gas leaks. Out of the hatches located on those digesters, 8 of 24 hatches were also identified to have leaks. Next slide, please. Then you notice the pictures there are the old equipment that's to date. Next slide, please. The orders stipulated for repairs and replacements, and they have been complete. Replacement of access hatches, pressure relief valves, and we actually replaced it with new models of Changer's models 94020. We went above and beyond the stipulated abatement order and decided to replace all 16 PRVs on all 8 digesters, 11 of which are related to the SOA. Hatches and gaskets. 32 hatch gaskets have also been replaced, 24 related to the SOA. And we have currently replaced 5 new access hatches installed. So all above and beyond the SOA. Proud to say that. Next slide, please. We do now have continuous biweekly monitoring and preventive maintenance. Our operational staff performs 4 times a day of visual inspection. These are journeyman level operators that are very professional in what they do. And they do now do twice a day and 4 times a day, twice per shift, 4 times a day. We monitor it with the Eagle gas detector. Biweekly samples are taken and recorded. And if you notice the picture there, there is also a manufacturer collaboration and dialogue between the manufacturer and the staff at Point Loma. This shows the collaboration there. Point Loma staff is taking the gas reading as a manufacturer is looking on, and a detailed picture of the gas detector itself. We do have now a scheduled maintenance, and maintenance staff repairs and replaces hatches and PRVs as needed on our digesters now. So that is very, for me, that's very good news. Thank you. Next slide, please. We are ready for the future. An inventory of spare parts as stipulated, ordered by the abatement order. We have now 2 Shanninger pressure relief valves located on site to be used immediately in case it is required. I did not find a good picture. It actually looks better if I just took the picture of the box because it's wrapped in plastic. So it had just been a plastic kind of PRV wrapped in there. So the box is there to show, and a hatch is also there. We do now have spare gaskets on hand at the plant. And I'd also like to point out that we've spent over $7 million addressing the stipulated abatement order and has allocated the appropriate dollars to operate, maintain, and repair equipment identified in the SOA. That is basically an overall view of the events. Next slide, please. I do have to, under an inspection of 24, for less than 48 hours ago, one hatch was detected on our N1 digester to have a 900 parts per million gas leak. With that said, we have taken action immediately, took down the digester, eliminated the gas leak, and currently right now replacing the gasket. Even with replacement of the gasket, whether it works or not, we have started a process in ordering a new hatch, and we will replace the hatch whether the gasket works or not. And that is currently up to date on the stipulated abatement order. Any question by the board?
I'm going to allow actually, my colleagues not to address, you first, with any questions, members of the board. Any comments or questions, for Mr. Cutter before we proceed, with APCD's feedback?
My comments are just very happy to hear this news, and that everything was not only on track, but everything's complete at this point. So that's my only comment at this point.
Thank you, Vice Chair Schlick. Any other comments? Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Cutter. That certainly, I know that there's a lot of work, that had to be done, but I think, it was due, so well done. Ms. Byford, could you please, elaborate, on the position and the relationship and collaboration between the wastewater, and APCD?
Yes, we are thankful and appreciative of the city's efforts. We did detect the same 900 ppm leak on the hatch, which they took down and are replacing. On our side, we are in the final stages of the permit modification that was also part of this stipulated abatement order, in order to have some better defined parameters and limits for values of ppm acceptable moving forward. And both parties have been providing comment back and forth to narrow down the details, and we are hoping to get it finalized by today, but it will be final very soon. I can't say a date, but it's super close.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just wanted to actually say, that I have seen, certainly, San Diego, the county, the public works coming back, here, several times. And I think, these process, has been really very methodical. And as you said, Mr. Cutter, definitely prepares you for the future. So rather than to be, kind of an emergency management mode, now you're looking at sustainable operations. I know it comes with money, certainly, but as my dad said, make mistakes after 18, you pay with money. So certainly that is a good thing. And I also want to highlight for those individuals who may be listening to this recording, whether now, or later, that this is the type of collaboration that we engage with, with our regulatory agencies. So nothing, to go, behind the scenes or to say, this could be better. If I don't say something like that, this is definitely something that we can do proactively. So I commend both, certainly APCD, and the wastewater plant in Point Loma, for collaborating and getting this, to where we need to have it, so thank you so very much. And thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome. We enjoyed the collaboration as well. It was interactive, positive, and it was always looking forward to solutions.
There you go.
And I truly understand and dig it. Thank you.
Yeah, we are after a common goal. So thank you so very much. No, so. Let's actually, I mean, then we don't actually have to do, hold it here. So definitely, I mean, that there is any other comments, I mean, from the public, any other comments now from the district, before we take a motion to accept, this presentation? No? Okay, so do we actually have a motion, I mean, to accept the presentation, I mean, from Point Loma Wastewater on petition 4521?
I will make that motion.
Thank you so very much. I mean, by Chair Slake, do I get a second? I'll second. Give it, I mean, to Dr. Spencer, please. I mean, and Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Member Gonzalez?
Aye.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Spencer?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick?
Did you hear me? Aye.
Thank you. Chair Rodriguez?
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes with all members present voting aye.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Next on the agenda is the petition before the board. That is petition 4527, San Diego County Air Pollution Control District, County of San Diego abatement order against respondent New Leaf Biofuel. And before we begin, the discussion on this petition 4527, I mean, Madam Clerk, have we received any requests from members of the public that wish to address the board today on public communication?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. We have received no requests from members of the public to address the board under petition 4527. However, if there are any members of the public on the teleconference line wishing to address the board under petition 4527, please raise your hand now by pressing *9 or using the raise hand feature on Zoom. Madam Chair, it appears we do have one member of the public that wishes to address the board under petition 4527 at this time.
Perfect. Well, I mean, I request that public person, I mean, that just stay put. Let's actually go through this presentation. As customary, the board will take the presentation from APCD staff. Then we will follow by petitioner presentation from, and then, we will take, I mean, any public comments. Who would be presenting today? I mean, on behalf of APCD, Ms. Mahoney?
Yes, that would be me.
Hi, Mary. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I want to let the board know that I did provide the clerk of the board with some slides to aid in today's progress update. Would the board consider approving of these slides to be presented today?
I mean, thank you, Mary. I mean, do I actually get a motion, I mean, to accept, I mean, the presentation by APCD as Exhibit 1?
So the slides will be a helpful exhibit to help in what you're going to verbally tell us. So I would make that motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slick. Do I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. I mean, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Member Gonzalez?
Aye.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Spencer?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez?
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes to accept the district's presentation as Exhibit 1.
Thank you. I mean, Mary, please go ahead.
Okay, and Mia, when you're ready, if you could please display the title slide for me. Thank you. Today's progress update will review the status of New Leaf Biofuels Odor Reduction System, or ORS, installed as a requirement per the stipulated abatement order issued by the board October 27, 2022 to mitigate nuisance odors at New Leaf South Plant located in Barrio Logan. Slide 2, please. Today's update will first review the district's engineering evaluation of the new ORS, which has been operating since December 2nd, 2022. I will also update the board regarding the most recent public complaints as well as the latest on-site facility investigation outcomes and odor survey results. Slide 3, please. The district's engineering staff conducted an on-site physical inspection of New Leaf's ORS on December 21st, 2022. And as mentioned in the last progress update, New Leaf needed to replace the pressure gauges on the carbon vessels. New Leaf did install new pressure gauges before the district inspection on the 21st. The new gauges were installed to better reflect the expected pressure reading ranges of the ORS. District engineering staff found no issues during this inspection. However, 2 follow-up items were arranged post-inspection. The first follow-up item was to establish a baseline pressure for the 2 carbon vessels. This baseline value has now been set, and any pressure reading that is above the baseline value by 4 or more inches of water column will trigger replacement of the carbon materials. The other follow-up item was regarding portable analyzers that New Leaf is using to measure hydrogen sulfide. Based on the specifications of the analyzer, some additional conditions will be added to the startup authorization. However, to be clear, these analyzers are not part of the ORS. The district also requested the 30-day report that respondent is required to provide. This report was made into a requirement in the authority to construct and now has carried over as a requirement in the startup authorization that was issued on January 4th, 2023. New Leaf is required to monitor, evaluate, and report the effectiveness of the ORS outside of the property line every 30 days. If odors are noticed, then New Leaf is required to address the problem. The district requested the report that covers the time after the ORS began operating. New Leaf's report indicated that no odors were observed outside of the south plant, and they have stated that they are now checking for odors daily during each shift change. Slide 4, please. This slide shows the most recent complaint since the last update on December 8th. The district has received 1 new public odor complaint after the ORS began operating. The number of unique complainants has remained unchanged. There are still 12 unique complainants and 1 anonymous complainant. The 1 new public complaint described an odor that smelled like rotten eggs. No prior complaints had described the odor as being a rotten egg type of odor. This complaint was received on December 30th, 2022. A district inspector was dispatched the same day to conduct an odor survey. No rotten egg type of odor was found by the inspector. And in fact, the typical odors associated with New Leaf South plant operations were all identified as low odor intensities, ranging from very faint to no odor at all on that day. Subsequent odor surveys did not find any rotten egg type of smell, and to date, this type of odor has not been identified. A nearby enclosed sewer was also investigated, and it too was found to not have any odors. It's not clear if the rotten egg odor identified on December 30th by citizen complaint was caused by New Leaf's operations, as it was not confirmed, and the odor is not the type of odor that has typically been associated with New Leaf South plant. Slide 5, please. The district conducted 80 odor surveys prior to the operation of the ORS. Of the 80 odor surveys, 75 found nuisance odors. Since the ORS was installed on December 2nd, the district has conducted 17 odor surveys and no nuisance odors have been found. Slide 6, please. The district has conducted 3 recent on-site facility inspections of New Leaf since the last progress update. These inspections did not find any violations of the conditions in the stipulated abatement order, authority to construct, or the newly issued startup authorization. New Leaf was maintaining accurate records and operating the ORS in compliance. No violations of any district rules or regulations have been identified, and New Leaf has stated that they have not received any direct odor complaints to report to the district during this time frame. Slide 7, please. The district has continued to review the odor intensity classifications for 2 areas along Newton Avenue in front of and across the street from the South Plant. These are the areas where the most intense odors have been consistently found. In order to evaluate the effectiveness of the ORS for abating nuisance odors, we compared the odor classifications in these 2 areas before the ORS began operating and after the ORS began operating. The table on the left has the odor intensities found at these locations before the ORS was operating. And as you can see, the majority of the odors were being classified as distinct and strong. The overall 3 most intense odor ratings comprise almost 75% of the odors being identified, and finding no odors or very faint odors was rare. The table on the right has only the results from the 17 odor surveys conducted after the operation of the ORS had begun. The results have shifted noticeably towards the low odor intensity range and the no odor level. Slide 8, please. Another way to compare the most recent odor results is to look at the odor survey results from just the one area that is closest to residents after the operation of the ORS had begun. These 2 tables are separated by month, with odor surveys conducted during December 2022 on the left and January 2023 on the right. You will notice that the highest odor intensities found near residents thus far has been faint, and that was observed on December 7th. A no odor rating has become the most frequent observation and the recent trend as well. Slide 9, please. Since the ORS has been operating, the district has identified a significant reduction in odor intensity and odor frequency, especially near residential homes. The district will continue to conduct investigations and odor surveys to evaluate the effectiveness and the equipment's ability to continually reduce odors and prevent odor nuisances. The district will communicate with New Leaf quickly if we identify odor nuisances moving forward. The district will provide the next progress update to the hearing board at the February 23rd, 2023 hearing board meeting and include any recommendations to the board at that time if needed. And last slide, please. This concludes today's progress update. Thank you very much for your attention, and please feel free to ask any questions.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
Because we cannot hear you.
You know what? I am mute. I mean, that it works a lot better, you know. So, I mean, Ms. Mahoney, thank you so very much for the presentations. I was indicating that definitely is following the trend that we were expecting. I mean, from the installation of the engineering controls at the same time, I mean, collaboration with APCD compliance. So, I mean, thank you so very much. Are there any questions from the members of the board for Ms. Mahoney? Okay. I do have a couple of questions. I mean, Madam Clerk, if you could definitely, you know, I mean, go back to slide number 1. I just want to corroborate, you know, I mean, that statement that maybe the ATS or something like that will be revised where no odors, you know, I mean, will be the requirement. This is no odors, no versus, I mean, the nuisance odors. I just wanted to make sure that I understand, you know, slide number 1 well. Nope, just go back. I mean, I put in slide number 1, but it's not 1. That's 1. Yeah, you know, I mean, okay, 2, next, there you go, stay there. Okay, you know, so you actually have this startup authorization, you know, that was issued, you know, you're going to be revising, you know, the condition for hydrogen sulfide on that one. Okay, you know, but what would be then the condition, I mean, for startup would also be not nuisance odors, you know, I mean, just like for every permit, isn't it?
Yeah, so the startup authorization will have a revision for the portable analyzers, and it has a lot of the same conditions that carried over from the ATC, including conditions made specifically to prevent odor nuisances. If that was your question, I have it right here in front of me.
Yep, that's the one. Just wanted to corroborate on that one. Now there's oh my goodness. I mean, I believe it's there's another slide, where you rank your odors. I mean, the from faint, very faint. I mean, the intense, the top. If we can go to that slide. Thank you. I mean, so Ms. Mahoney, has APCD and New Leaf discussed, I mean, this odor classification, for example, I mean, that in any of these classifications, particularly on the, where does it actually, where does nuisance land? At strong, very strong? Where would that be? Distinct?
So that's a conversation that we have internally on somewhat of a case-by-case basis, but in general, the distinct level has previously indicated, the presence of nuisance odors. We are doing surveys where we're looking at a few different locations each time we do an odor survey. And so, so far, the determination from the last 17 odor surveys has been from the district that they're not at the level of a nuisance odor.
Okay, I mean, that's so definitely, that answers my question. I mean, I would like, to be a little bit more discreet. I know that the district has actually flexibility, so I may actually ask that question again. I mean, the next month. The following slide, I believe, I mean, that Mia, just, I mean, okay. Has the district, shared this information with New Leaf, so that maybe New Leaf can say, oh my gosh, I mean, that correlate this type of report and classification of odors with the operations, I mean, at the plant?
Yeah, I mean, we've emailed a few times here and there, and our inspectors also do, they're conducting on-site inspections approximately once every 2 weeks. So there is that interaction, that ongoing interaction that's still occurring. Okay. There's also a lot of interaction with our other APCD departments as well, such as engineering.
Okay. I just want to say, I mean, definitely, what would be, the escape? I mean, the other odors, that can be very, and definitely we actually have a community, I mean, that is fairly aroused, I mean, with regards to the distinction of this. So again, going back, and putting a little bit more, I don't know, objectivity into something that is fairly objective. I mean, subjective rather, so those are my questions. So thank you.
You're welcome.
In this instance, that we actually have a representative from New Leaf, that would like, to address the board.
Yes, Madam Chair, Chris Whitey, the Chief Operating Officer, and Tyler Case is also with us. He is one of the owners of New Leaf. I have a short presentation just to tell you a little bit more internally about what we're doing and how we're going with the odor control system, if the board was willing to view those slides.
Accepted. I mean, that's so I think, it would definitely, I mean, be fair, because I want to make sure, that we have documentation of these presentations, I mean, going forward as well. And actually it adds value, I mean, to what you're going to be addressing. Are there any other members of the board, who would like to make a motion to accept, I mean, New Leaf's presentation as Exhibit 2?
Yeah, I think in the interest of fairness, New Leaf should be allowed to present just as the district did. So I'll move to accept that.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Spencer. Do I get a second?
Second.
I mean, thank you so very much. I mean, Member Powers. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Member Gonzalez?
Aye.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Spencer?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez?
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes with all members present voting to accept petitioner's presentation as Exhibit 2.
Thank you so very much, Madam Clerk. I mean, Mr. White, I mean, that this is your opportunity to present.
Sure. Could I, normally the New Leaf ownership always like to have just a brief statement of their intentions and purpose. So, but I can ask Tyler Case just to do that, and then I'll give the presentation, which was only a few slides.
For clarity, I mean that you want Mr. Case, to make the presentation. Is that correct?
Just to make a brief statement about New Leaf's intentions.
And Mr. Case, I mean, has also been sworn. Have you been sworn, Mr. Case?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so very much. I mean, so please go ahead.
Hello, my name's Tyler Case. I am a 15-year partner of New Leaf Biofuel, spending much of my life over the past 15 years in Barrio Logan and care very much about it. I just wanted to thank the APCD and the city for allowing us to complete this project ahead of time. We are determined to be good stewards of the environment and our neighborhood, and look forward to maintaining this system and maintaining the clean air and zero nuisance state that is required of us. I will let Chris take you to the presentation now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Go ahead. I mean that Mr. White.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give a brief sort of rundown of what we've been doing internally. So we got the filter up and running in the beginning of December. We had some problems with the gauges that were mentioned, but we got the right ones fairly quickly. And so we've established this baseline of pressure drop. And we're really using this pressure drop in a number of ways. The compliance ways that we have to make sure that that carbon isn't getting clogged up and that it's continuing to work properly. And so we now have a baseline and we have a replacement threshold so that we can meet our compliance requirements in that regard. If you just go to the next slide, please. So this is how we measure the pressure drop. So we have a pressure sensing pipe at each side of the carbon vessel, and we just put that to a gauge, and it tells us the difference in pressure at the inlet and outlet side. And that's useful to us in a number of ways. First, it can be an indicator of the carbon performance, but it's also an indicator of airflow in the system. So if the pressure drop gets a lot less for any reason, that can be just as much of an indication of problem as it getting too high. I mean, if the carbon, what they call it, tracks, so it's not getting even airflow through it, you can have a pressure drop, and that might indicate a drop off in performance. So we use that as an indicator of overall system performance as well. Next slide, please. So this is our, I mean, you can't read this, it's not meant to be for that purpose, but this is our sort of daily routine in relation to odor management. So we have a big list of housekeeping tasks and inspection tasks that are required around all the leaks and cleanups and just general hygiene. We do an external odor check at the start of every shift, and I would like to just talk on the next slide, Madam Chair, about the point that you raised, because that's a very important one that we need to, I think, arrive at some sort of a landing on. And then we have our actual data from meters and tests. So we measure H2S every day, and we at the beginning and end of beginning of each shift, so it's twice a day, and also the pressure conditions. And so all of those, that whole set of information allows us to basically do the condition for 30-day check every day, because there's not much point, I don't think, in doing a 30-day report that says, oh, we've noticed an odor issue in the last 20 days. If there's an odor issue, we want to be dealing with it straight away. Next slide, please. So we've had the system running continuously, had no downtime. We did have to turn off briefly, but we did it during a non-operational period to install slides that allow us then to isolate each individual carbon vessels so that we can service them without interrupting the operation of the odor control system. And we now have critical spares for everything that can break down on site. Next slide, please. So we did this baseline compliance review, and that was basically, we went through every one of the 26 conditions and either took measurements or verified that we were compliant. And we provided that to the APCD to also set that baseline for the pressure drop across the vessels. Next slide, please. So this is the condition 4 reporting, and this is the I think something that we are a little bit concerned about. Our sort of approach to this has been to eliminate nuisance odors. The way this is written at the moment is that there is no detectable odor present outside the property boundary, and I mean that is a very high standard to have absolutely no odor whatsoever. I mean, because there are other odors in the neighbourhood, some from other things that we're doing, some from other activities in the neighbourhood. We have food trucks that on many days of the week park opposite our main gate and cook using cooking oil. So, I mean, we just want to know, I mean, the human nose is a very sensitive instrument, and zero odor for any odorous material can be in the part per billion range. So we really want to get a clarification about the intention of this, so that, I mean, our standard may be quite different from the APCD standard. We're here every day. Our baseline expectation may be totally different, and it's very hard to know objectively, you know, what it is we should be aiming for. I mean, you know, I drive here every day. I get here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I open my car window every time I drive up to make sure I can't detect anything. I park outside the south plant. I walk around it every day. And what I'm looking for is, when I get out, is there anything I can notice? When I walk around, is there any point where I notice a detectable odor versus the moment before or the moment after? And my standard is that, you know, with maybe one exception that might have been on the list of the APCD's inspections, the answer is no. But they obviously have a slightly different standard, but again, for many of their inspections, they've also had no odor. So one of my, I guess, requests to the board and the APCD is to try to do exactly what Chair Rodriguez mentioned, is to try and set some sort of objective criteria by which we know that we're meeting expectations of the neighbours, of the no nuisance. That's not so absolute, because, you know, to have no odour ever may not be realistic. And there will be occasions when there is an odour and it may be nothing to do with us, what we record then. So that's just one issue. I know Mary raised it with me this morning in an email, and it may be a conversation we need to have, and perhaps we could come back to the next review with some sort of a proposal about how we manage that, so that we're either not continuously recording something that doesn't make any difference, or missing levels of odour that are significant to neighbours. I mean, we have, you know, we record every inspection that we do with the APCD staff present, and, you know, when we've been there with them, they haven't said, look, this is an odour, you need to be, you know, looking at this. So that's, I guess, what we have calibrated ourselves against, is that when we've been around with them and they've said, look, there's no odours, we've said, okay, well, this is our standard, and that's how we've done our assessments. Next slide, please. So there's one other minor issue we have, and that is pressure difference in conditions 11 to 13 of the startup authorization. We're required to have a pressure inside the building that's lower than outside. The practicality of that is that those pressure differences are very small, and it's difficult. It has proved difficult to get an instrument that will usefully provide monitoring of that. I think we might have raised this in the last meeting as well. So we went out and we've got the most sensitive instrument we could get on short lead time that was an industrial grade instrument, and that has not proved satisfactory because the scale, the range that we occupy in pressure difference is such a small portion of the scale. And so if we're trying to use that as a relay switch to switch on an alarm or not, it just doesn't work reliably. We have another instrument we've sourced from overseas that's on its way, but it's going to be still 2 or 3 weeks before that arrives. In the meantime, we do have a handheld instrument that tells us that we are in compliance and having negative pressure relative to the outside, inside the building. But I mean, this is another situation where we're not quite sure what the expectation of the APCD was. I mean, maybe that's something we need to have an explicit conversation about. But we will be in compliance in the meantime, and we will, I think with this next meter, we'll definitely have the range that we need, and it is a digital instrument, so it doesn't require any mechanical relays to switch an alarm on or off, and it can continuously record data. So I think it will be what's needed. Next slide, please. So this is our view, is that we've, seen a total change in knowing ourselves that there's a noticeable odor to not really being able to notice it in almost all the time since the plant to control odor has been installed. All of the inspections have found us in compliance, and they have not reported odors during the visits. And we haven't received any direct complaints, but then we didn't before, so that's not much of a metric, but at least we have not received any more. And I think that is the last slide. Any questions? You're muted, Madam Chair.
I did it again, so thank you for your presentation, Mr. White. Definitely love, your metrics on that one. I mean, and the attention to detail, with which you're managing this. One question that I have, do you have a calibration, the cycle for all of this equipment, gauges and things of that nature, or no?
Yes, I mean, they would always be, I mean, they come with a calibration capability, every H2S meter included. Yep. You just, they have a standard calibration equipment that the supplier provides, and you just have to source a standard gas to do that calibration. The pressure gauges, yes, we have independent instruments that we do calibration checks on a regular basis. Okay. So we do manual meter checks every week and check that against the instruments that we have in place.
Oh, thank you. I mean, again, it's just the precision and the accuracy required. I mean, on some of the instrumentation demands it, so thanks again. Questions, or comments, for new leave from the members of the board, please.
Just a quick comment. Appreciate the report, Mr. White, and I'm glad to see that this control system has solved the problem.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Any other comments or questions for Mr. White?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I definitely notice and appreciate the cooperation between New Leaf Biofuel and with the district and the engagement on working on solving the problem, especially since this order has begun. I'm I will be curious to see what members of the public have to say about their perception of how successful this has been. But certainly based on the objective data, the trend line is certainly in the right direction, which I'm happy to see.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Spencer. And this is where we're actually moving right now. I believe, Madam Clerk, that we have a member of the public, wanting to address, the board.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. As a reminder to members of the public wishing to address the board today, I will be calling speakers by name or the last 4 digits of their phone number. You will hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. At that time, you will need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. Please self-regulate your time. I will ask you that you conclude your comments when your time has ended. I would remind the speakers to mute their live stream before they begin speaking. Our first caller today will be Nicholas Paul.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Paul, we can hear you.
Yeah, so my name is Nicolas Paul. I am the air quality advocate at the Environmental Health Coalition. I want to do a quick comment to thank APCD staff, specifically the inspectors assigned to the Barrio Logan area, Junior Alfaro, who's been very diligent and has continuously come out to inspect the area. And respond to community complaints. Engaging with residents, we've noticed a big improvement in the odor situation here in Barrio Logan. And we're very appreciative of the progress that we've been able to meet over the past month. However, our work here, it isn't over. And, there were some calls from New Leaf, specifically about setting up an objective criteria for odors. And, I think we're forgetting a very important element in all of this, which is community. And so, the community is going to continue to monitor the situation in the neighborhood. If we smell odors, believe me, our community is prepared and is armed with the knowledge to report these odors moving forward. And so, again, I just wanted to emphasize that our community is going to remain engaged in this process. We know how to report now, and again, we will continue to monitor the situation in the neighborhood. Again, we really appreciate the progress so far. We've seen some incredible improvement, but again, we're just going to continue to work on this, and we're so appreciative of all the work of the district so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Do we have additional, the public speakers, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, it appears that would be our final public speaker for this item, petition 4527.
Thank you so very much. Madam Clerk, I would definitely like to close the public comment, on this aspect, and then ask some feedback, on the trend and the correction, I guess, that and collaboration between New Leaf and APCD, if you would like to comment on it.
So I would like to comment. I think this is very promising. I think the interesting conflict between what's subjectively perceptible and what can be objectively met. That's something we'll just want to keep an eye out for and going forward. I think that I would love to hear from Counsel for the Hearing Board, Emily Helms, maybe not like, I don't want to put her on the spot today, but between now and the next update, maybe to look into the legal standard for nuisance and maybe brief the hearing board members on any input she may have on that. Because I know that nuisance is, there's a legal standard for it. I just don't off the top of my head, I can't share that myself. But that would be what I would be interested in. And I appreciate your input today, Tyler Case. I appreciate your input, Nicholas Payul. And it's really encouraging to hear that you've been engaging with the members of the public. You know, no news is good news as far as we don't hear a lot of complaints today. So I think that's a good trend. Let's hope that we hear that again next time. But I really appreciate your time, Mr. Payul, about coming and sharing, because luckily, if we don't hear complaints, it doesn't necessarily mean the problem is fixed. So I just appreciate your time that you're taking to engage with the residents and report on that as a member of the public and as a representative of the Environmental Health Coalition.
Thank you, Vice Chair Slick. Any other members of the board that would like, to address and actually, provide some comments? Well, thank you so very much. Everybody, I actually have to say, Mr. Pohl, the UEHC and definitely the community, they're always welcome to be here. I'll continue reiterating that. Also, this is what we do as citizens. And this is actually part of our rights, to do. Please, we continue to exercise it because it shows, that rather than fear, we actually are emboldened, with information and knowledge that we can collaborate, for the betterment of our society. And honestly, that's what I think, moves all of us here. Now, when I mentioned definitely about the objectivity, I just like, the Vice Chair Slick, indicated, even though there's a standard for nuisance, the sliding scale is out there. So, I'm definitely looking for a little bit more guidance, as Mr. White indicated, that where I guess that both the APCD and New Leaf can refine it because somehow they need a little bit more guidance, okay? The majority of, the nuisance smells, are usually at 100, to 1,000, times less than that, of the regulatory limits. So we need to be, cognizant of that. And again, this is part of knowledge that I'm actually, sharing with you. It could be a lot lower. So that I can provide New Leaf, some guidance here because I think that is needed. It's also needed, for all of us. To be on the very same page. So I think that will be really very good. So I definitely exhort Mr. White and New Leaf, and Ms. Mahoney, representation definitely of APCD, continue refining that. And I completely support. The Vice Chair Schlick, about for us to understand. What is the standard of nuisance odors? And how is the training, for example, things of that nature. So maybe, for next month, we would like, to see that from Ms. Mahoney as well as Ms. Helms, so that, again, all of are equipped with understanding and maybe, become a little bit wiser, in that element, because it's not an easy standard. So thank you so very much. Well, I know that Mr. White has the, his hand raised, Mr. White. This actually, I closed now the comments on that one, but I'm going to give you just 1 minute, Mr. White, just 1 minute to address, if the board. I don't want to reopen. This is something that we're going to the on the right pattern. Go ahead, please.
All I wanted to say is that the reason we've undertaken this whole thing and spent all this money and done all this work is so the neighbours can have the life that they want to have without being impacted by us. So, if there's ever information or suggestions or anything that they want to convey to us directly or through the APCD, however it best suits them, then we're keen to get that input. Because, if we're not achieving our goal, then, what's the point of all this work being? So it's very important to us. And Mr. Powell does raise a very important point that we need that feedback as much as we need to sort out all the legal and technical parts of everything.
Absolutely. I mean, so please, I mean, go back, to the APCD. APCD needs to collaborate, with you on this refinement. I mean, so that's what has been the request here. So thank you so very much. I mean, Mr. White. So I think, that we actually have received a really very good, feedback and report, on petition 4527. And I would like, to see, if we actually have a motion for approval, for this report on petition 4527. Do I get a motion to approve the report?
I will make that motion to approve.
Thank you so very much. And we actually have a second. Madam, please call the roll.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to clarify the motion. The board is directing council and the district to define the legal standard for nuisance for the February 23rd meeting.
Yes, please.
Okay, and is that and included with that motion is to accept the presentations or the updates today. Is that correct?
Yeah, just for next, exactly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Gonzalez?
Aye.
Member Powers?
Aye.
Member Spencer?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schlick?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez?
Aye.
Madam Chair, that motion passes with all members present voting aye.
Well, thank you, everybody. It has been a really very good meeting. And I believe, that concludes our business for today. The next meeting of the APCD Hearing Board, will take place on February 9th, 2023 at 9 o'clock in the morning. So have a great week. Oh, yes, 2023. Thank you. I thought I had said it. I'm still stuck in 2022. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Madam Chair, just a quick reminder that there will be a special meeting on February 16th in regards to the Hearing Board rules of procedure. And in addition to that, a reminder to the Hearing Board that beginning March, all our meetings will be held in person.
Oh, thank you for the reminder, Mia, and I'm sorry to have caught you off, but definitely, we actually have those meetings coming up, and then in March, we get to see each other, coffee in hand. So thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.